Our Washington correspondent Maria Byrd joins us now. Maria, we've had these conversations before, haven't we, about gun violence and the mass shootings, which seem to be making a comeback in the United States.
You're exactly correct. It's a very unfortunate time when you see the gun violence coming back. And as you said, some of these being motivated by hate crime. And so the U.S. has seen a spike in hate crimes 12 times what it was 5 years ago. And so it's a major issue that the president, the attorney general for the U.S. is putting as a number one priority because there has to be something, and especially within the African American and within the Asian community. And so that is where we're seeing the greatest increase in hate crimes.
And let's talk about the shooting in California. It was at the Presbyterian Church. If my memory serves me right, Maria, this is a second mass shooting taking place in a church, I think, in the last 5 years, as you rightly point out. And the California government still hasn't made a statement about this. What's going on there?
You're exactly correct. If you remember, in South Carolina, there was a church shooting several years ago, and this one was a Taiwanese church, which really does bring, and I know that many are concerned about tying it to a hate crime until that is being proved. I know the individual that they've stated they believe it is suspected that he is of Asian descent. They have not said exactly what his ethnic background is, but it is definitely going to be clearly investigated as to was this church targeted because it was a Taiwanese church with many Taiwanese Americans that attended.
And is this a fallout, of some of the protests that have happened in the last 1 year with the killing of many African-American men by police officers? And is this like a backlash, of that?
It's somewhat a backlash in some ways, but if you look at what's been happening and what they're really looking at from the Trump era, and you go back, really toward the beginning of that time frame and when we begin to hear about what many are considering kind of a new Republican Party, those who follow former President Trump, you can see that it has definitely been a clear focus on individuals with white supremacy. You can see social media. Many social media platforms today are trying to find ways to avoid having some of those images that we saw from that Buffalo, New York shooting being passed through because they're concerned that that is definitely igniting many individuals across the United States who are buying into some of the white supremacy and hate crime activity. We've also known that the individual from the Buffalo shooting, of the 13 individuals that were shot, 11 were African Americans. We know he went specifically to an African American community. We also know that on his actual gun, the word nigger was written on there. And so there are some very clear indications that really tie this to a hate crime. And we also know that in addition to this, in June of 2021, the individual also was being investigated for some threats at his high school. So it's really about how is the government, how are police going to be able to really wrap themselves around being able to decrease what we've seen escalating over the past 5 years.
The shooter in the Buffalo supermarket, 18-year-old Peyton, did buy that gun at a store, and the storekeeper said they'd run checks on him, nothing came up, and there was no reason why they couldn't sell the gun to him, which makes me wonder where America is at with gun control.
We can expect to see that there are going to be more gun control laws brought forward, especially by the Democrats. Gun control has been, as you know, many of the guns that are able to be purchased by young individuals are what they call ghost guns. I mean, there's a whole myriad of ways that people have been able to avoid some of the gun control laws. They would purchase guns, what many would consider illegally. So I would say that we're probably going to see when the president begins to speak formally about this, he will be going to visit those families over the next day or two in Buffalo, New York, that we will see the Attorney General come out with further thoughts around additional gun control measures.
Pretty worrying situation there in the U.S. Maria, do stay safe, and thanks for briefing us on the latest.
you.